Our subject is Jonah's prayer as it's presented in Jonah chapter 2, verse 2 to 9. Do you know there are 176 prayers in Old Testament, 46 prayers in New Testament. And there are some notes mentioned about prayer in both Old and New Testament. Altogether, it's 650 prayers. And book of Jonah alone got 4 prayers. And chapter 1 got the prayer of sailors because of that storm. They couldn't handle that pressure, so they pray. In chapter 2, there was Jonah praying. Chapter 3, king of Nineveh is praying. And chapter 4, Jonah is praying again. So who was Jonah? We don't know that much about him except what book of Jonah was telling us. So he was son of Amittai, probably living between 800 and 700 BC. And he got the message to go to Nineveh. He was residing someplace in that area here. And Nineveh was way up north there. So when he got the message to go and prophesy that the Nineveh will be destroyed in 40 days, for 40 days he's going to prophesy about destruction, he got kind of scary. He hesitated a bit. So he probably came up with 3 different reasons not to go there. First of all, everybody hates the bearer of the bad news. And that's what he's going to deliver there. So when he's going to go there and start to prophesy, they may even kill him before the 40 days is over. Because he's putting them through so much pressure and torment that, whoa, we're going to get killed. And so he thought, maybe if I go there and I will prophesy, and it won't gonna come true, my reputation is on line. I spent 40 days going there around and nothing happened. I'm gonna be laughing stock. So what did he decide? He decided to postpone that a bit. But now, why God wanna send him all the way to Nineveh? Let's look at the Israel history. And Israel, when they came up from Egypt, they came to the Holy Land, to that Canaan, the Promised Land. They were one nation here, one territory, and they were living there for 450 years, for a period of judges, and then came the period of kings. But the period of kings, which lasted 513 years, they were united for first 120 years. And then king of Israel imposed some taxes, which some 10 tribes didn't like it. So they separate themselves. So there is now Northern Kingdom of Israel and Judah. And they were existing together for 260 years. And when Israel disappeared, 10 tribes are gone. So Israel, just based only in Judah, lasted for 130 years, altogether 513 years. So initially when they were together and the 10 tribes separated, the kings of Israel were kind of worried because Israelites used to go to Jerusalem. And there was a temple there. And now they got a problem. The temple is in Jerusalem. They're going to go to Jerusalem, the population, so they may lose their heart. They may want to join Judah and have one nation here. So what did they do? Set up in Bethel a calf and said, oh, this is your God, you're going to worship to. And it's just close to the border, so make kind of convenience for the population to go right there and worship. What else did they do? They set up another golden calf in the city of Dan to worship there. So people, oh, why have to travel so much, so far down south? Here we can worship. So everything could be fine. But God didn't like that. God is a jealous God. And he sent lots of prophets there. Don't do it. Destroy those calves. But the kings never listened. So what did God do? He chipped the kingdom piece by piece. First, Assyrian came, conquered one city. Take the exiles. City was, in that area was empty. Empty, no people, no population. That didn't change kings of Israel mind. So they invaded another city. And then again, they took some prisoners and put them move them to Assyria and other places. And after 260 years, there was end of kingdom, of Israel's kingdom. No more Israel's kingdom. And where did they go? Here is the map. They were going to Nineveh, to Assyria, all the way even there. And after 133 years, the rest of Judah ended up in Babylonian bondage. So when they went to Nineveh, they didn't go there as a tourists. They went there as an exiles, as a slave labor. And Nineveh was a huge city. 3 days of walk to get around the city. A person would have to walk 3 days to get around. And the city was beautiful, magnificent building, few stories high, canals with water. And how did that happen? That they got such a wonderful city? Just because of slave labor. All those Jews, they went there, they were not there to relax, enjoy life there. No, they were put into the hard work. And you can see that. Slave driver, and these people were slaving, pulling some kind of carts and so on to build that beautiful city. And that's probably why God sent Jonah to Nineveh to soften up the king of Nineveh's heart, because there was too much oppression. People were crying to God to soften up that blow. And we know from the history here that God can do that. In Ezra chapter 6, verse 22, it says here, "For 7 days they celebrated with joy the festival of unleavened bread, because the Lord had filled them with joy by changing the attitude of king of Assyria, so that he assisted them in the work of the house of God, God of Israel." So it's possible that God could work with those kings, those rulers. And like in that case, it changed the heart of the king. So maybe Jonah will accomplish something by talking to people in Nineveh and the king of Nineveh. But so what happened with Jonah? Jonah got the message to go there. And what did he say? No, he said nothing. Do you remember maybe the situation when other prophet, Isaiah, was in his vision somewhere in front of God's throne, and God was debating some kind of project with angels, what we're going to do, what should we do here and there, whom should we send as a messenger? And Isaiah was there. And he said, "Here I am, send me." Now God speak to Jonah. Go to Nineveh. He didn't ask him, would you go there, or maybe whom we going to send? No, go there. And what does Jonah do? He go to the travel agent, whatever that was, bought himself a ticket for the ship, not to go to Turkey, maybe a little bit further, Greece or Italy. He's going all the way to Spain. And not only Spain, the East Coast, he's going all the way to the West Coast, Tarshish is right there. What happened next is unbelievable. He boarded the ship. There was a storm there. Sailors took him away from the ship. And here we got an unbelievable story. There are many stories written, many pictures drawn. Many atheists use that episode to discredit the Bible. Communists ridicule the whole event to undermine existence of God. But the humpback whale can hold the breath for 15 to 30 minutes, get the mouth big enough to swallow the man. And now I would like to watch the clip taken from the father of his son kayaking in South America off the Chile coast. So there's going to be a short commercial, and I couldn't get rid of it. So just be patient.
But you find the answer in all this in data.
We get Saspaya.
That's right. Cool.
The quickest way from a billion points of data to a point of view. Saspaya.
There are tales about whales, and then there's this. A kayaker in Chile has been gobbled up by a humpback. The whole incident caught on camera by the man's father.
This kayaker is about to become a snack for what lies beneath. 1, 2, 3 seconds later, the huge humpback whale spits out Adrian's smunkers.
Sí, yo pensé que me había.
He says, I thought it had already eaten me and swallowed me. Adrian's father Del witnessing the heart-stopping moment along the coast of southern Chile.
Cuando volteo no veo.
When I turned around, I didn't see Adrian and I didn't see the boat. The giant of the sea surfacing one last time. Adrian clinging to his inflatable kayak, shaken but unharmed, as his father then tows him back to safety.
The animal was probably targeting either fish or krill, which are tiny little prawn-like creatures, only a few centimeters in size, and they sometimes side lunge, and the kayaker.
So you can see, brother, that it was possible for Jonah to be swallowed and put on land after 3 days. So now let's have a look at his prayer of deliverance.
From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God. He said,
In my distress I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead I called for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the depths, into the very heart of the seas. The currents swirled about me. All your waves and breakers swept over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The engulfing waters threatened me. The deep surrounded me. Seaweed was wrapped around my head. To the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me in forever. But you, Lord my God, brought my life up from the pit. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols turn away from God's love for them. But I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will make good. I will say, salvation comes from the Lord.
and the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land.
Now, brethren, let's look at Jonah's prayer. That prayer, written here, I don't think came from the belly of the fish. It was written probably well after that. It's well composed, nicely written, and it says here, in my distress, I called to the Lord. Because when he was there, probably he didn't have the time to think about it. First 10 minutes, he didn't know what's going on. He is in some kind of chamber. There's a dark, there's water coming in and leaving him. He's his kind of position, like fetal position, probably, that was because there was not much room. And then he realized that maybe he's in the mouth of the fish. And then probably his prayer was like that: Lord, help me out. Do something. I'm dying. Save me. I will do anything now. Just get me out from there. And that was maybe after 1 or 2 hours. And half a day went by. Every so often he probably see the daylight. But again, fish went down into the deep water. Another day. One more day. And finally, he saw the daylight. He was on the land. So when we look at his prayer, the verse 2 to 4, he described his predicament. In verse 4, he's already humble here. He doesn't mention God's name. He just looks towards his holy temple. He doesn't even have the courage to look at him. He's so humble that terrified. Yeah, there's no God's name mentioned. The fifth and sixth again talks about his experience in the bottom of the sea. Verse 7, he addresses God again, but not God himself, the holy temple. Now he's quite subdued. He's ready to do whatever God asks him to do. Verse 8, he's giving some words of wisdom to those who don't acknowledge him but experience God's love. He didn't condemn them, those who cling to the worthless idols, but he kind of wants to get them smarten up, do something. There's a God who loves you. And verse 9 is important because he's praising here God, and I will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will make good. So he's promising whatever I promise to you, I will keep it, my promise. To understand his prayer better, let's look at the whole episode. So he is got another message. The word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. Go to the great city of Nineveh and proclaim to it the message I gave you. So he went and talked to citizens of Nineveh. He talked to the king of Nineveh probably and his nobles. And what happened there? The decree came from king of Nineveh. By decree, the king and his nobles do not let people or animals, herds or flocks taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink, but let people and animals be covered with sackcloth. Let everyone call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways. What evil ways? And their violence. And here it is. You remember maybe the other sculpture, or the wall sculpture, or they call that bas relief. There was a slave driver there. But here, there's no slave driver. There are soldiers here lined up with shields, with spears, and with bows. And look at those people. They are not walking there. They are working hard, carrying the basket and bricks. And probably there was quite a violence. Many people were dying through that hard labor and hardship. And that's the reason King of Nineveh realized that they do the evil here and the violence. And that God probably heard that, and that's the reason he sent prophet. Hey, smarten up, O king, because the whole city may be destroyed. Similar situation was in Egypt when the Egyptian king, the Pharaoh, oppressed the Israelites. God sent the Moses, deliverer, to pull them out from Egypt. But this time around, God won't gonna do that. Won't gonna pull them out. The reason they are there because of the punishment God imposed on them. What God may do is just soften up the blow. So they're still gonna be here in Iraq, but work not as hard. Not many people will die under that heavy burden of hardship throughout the labor. And after that prophesying, what happened? Jonah went the east side of the city, built up himself a little shelter, 4 sticks, some branches on top, and he's watching what will happen. But the 40 days went by, and nothing is happening. But it greatly displeased Jonah, and he became angry. Look at now. He became angry now because there's nothing happening. And look at this. It's kind of, how could that be? He was humble there in the belly of the fish. He's going to do everything. He's doing that. But now he's angry. But look at what the Lord does. He's dealing with him very kindly. Do you have a good reason to be angry? He got something to think about that now, Jonah. But the Lord make some kind of seed was there probably, the plant to grow. So the plant grew and covered the shelter with the heavy leaves. So now Jonah is comfortable. And it says there in the book of Jonah that Jonah was happy now, because now he can watch the destruction of the city in the shade. City gonna burn, but he's comfortable sitting under the shelter, that structure he built, and he got lots of shade there because of that leafy plant. But the next what happened, the worm came, chewed on the root, and the tree died. When the tree died, then God said to Jonah, do you have a good reason to be angry about the loss of the plant? And he said, I have very good reason to be angry enough to die. So again, he's angry. Can you imagine? Can you imagine be angry enough to die? How angry you have to be that you are ready to die? Things don't match up here. His attitude before and now. So how could that be? And God is still try to calm him down. Do you have good reason to be angry enough? And we know that what happened to Elijah. Elijah, when he was delivering his message, he delivered, and later on he was in tribulation. So he ran because Jezebel wanted to kill him. He went to wilderness, and there under juniper trees he was crying, there's nobody else but me alone. But God told him, no, there's 7,000 people I have yet who didn't kneel to a Baal. I got 7,000 people. So in this situation, wasn't there enough prophets in Israel to send to Nineveh? Just sent Jonah, God pick up the Jonah to send, and he is now making fuss about it. Couldn't God find somebody else there to do the job? I will pause for here. We're going to change briefly the subject. Long time ago, my father asked me, what does a God do? And I start to think, now, what does God do? He does nothing. He created heaven and earth, animals, plants, then Adam and Eve, and he rested. It says that God rested after his creation of human pair. So now we got 6 6,000 years into his creation and into his rest, and another 1,000 years for a millennium. So altogether is 7,000 years, and that is not over here. So God is resting. He does nothing. And my father said, no, he's working. So I said, what can he do? What is he doing then? And my father pointed out to the scripture. Exodus chapter 20, verse 20. Moses said to the people, do not be afraid, for God has come in order to test you. What God does do? Test you. And in order that the fear of him may remain with you, so that you may not sin. At Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 3, God is testing you, testing again, to find out if you love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. What does God do? Doing the test again. And it's a wonderful verse in Proverbs chapter 17, verse 3. The refining pot is for silver, and the furnace for gold. But the Lord, what does he do? Test hearts. So, refining pot is for silver, not to make a soup, not to make a stew or boil the water. It's only for one reason, to refine the silver. And furnace for gold is to produce gold. Because for furnace for iron, it will be designed differently. Iron has different higher melting point, so that furnace is going to be different. But furnace for gold is for gold. And that was from Old Testament. In New Testament, it says like that. No, God knows the testing of your faith produce endurance. So here, testing is for faith. And 1 Peter 4:12, it says here, beloved, do not be surprised the fiery ordeal among you, which comes upon you for your testing, as something strange would happen to you. For your testing is some strange happening to you. So things are coming to us. Here on the picture we can see persecution of Iraqi Christians. So some of that testing is persecution. Some of the testing is a family situation, some health issues, some other things. And everything is to test. And dear brethren, the same thing happened to Jonah. Look at chapter 1 here. God appointed the fish to swallow him. God commanded the fish to spill him out. And again, God appointed the plant to grow up over Jonah. No coincidence. Everything was planned. Everything was designed. And then God appointed the worm. So now you remember the shed he got and the living things on top? Now there is nothing there. And what happened next? God appointed scorching east wind. So even Jonah suffered even more. So dear brethren, God sent Jonah because he loved him. He wanted him to succeed. He wanted him to develop that character. So he used him sometimes in the future yet. So the same with our lives. There is no coincidence. Everything is happening for some reason. Look at that one. Righteous man falls 7 times. How could righteous man fall? If he is righteous, he shouldn't fall. But he falls. Why? Because he is a man. Subject to temptation. Subject to failure. But because he is righteous, got righteous intention, even if he falls, he rises again. Another verse. The Lord is near the brokenhearted and save those who are crushed in spirit. Many are afflictions of the righteous, but Lord, what does he do? He delivers him. Why does he deliver him? Because prayer of deliverance comes to his throne. And that's the reason he delivers him out of all those his difficulties. Desperate situation called us to humble ourselves. There's no way out, no one to help, nobody to call. Then comes the prayer of desperation. And when we come to the Lord, we pray and He listens to us. I would like to leave you, brethren, with a wonderful verse in Psalm 50, verse 14 and 15. Offer to God a sacrifice of thanksgiving and pay your vows to the Most High. Call upon me in a day of trouble. I shall rescue you, and you will honor me. So Christian life is the mathematical function of sine or cosine. It goes up and down, up and down. Where we are on top, we are happy, everything goes well, financial situation is good, family life excellent, health can't complain. But there comes trouble, failing health, bullies on the job, some other financial difficulties. We go down, depression sets in. Then what we do? We offer prayers for deliverance. And when we offer that prayers, what God offers us? Help. And when we offer to Him, offer to God a sacrifice of thanksgiving. So we are thanking Him. And maybe even pay vows. And in those vows we could say, well, we're going to read manna every day now. Maybe we can read manna and the text associated with that. Maybe we could donate some money or spend 1 hour or maybe half an hour of quality time with the family, husband, wife, children, together read the Bible. There are all kinds of vows we could make. But the lives go on and we go down. And comes the day of trouble. But what we do? We call upon Him. And what does He do? He rescues us. And what do? We honor Him. By what? By offering God a sacrifice of thanksgiving. Can you, brothers, see that circle of life, circle of Christian life? But the driving force for that circle is the prayer of deliverance. And from those thoughts about the praise of deliverance based on the Jonah, which was also delivered by him, and it helped him out, and I hope it would help us as well. I wish you blessing for all those reflections, brethren. May God add His blessing. Thank you.